And we're back on the Mighty Fuzz podcast with my brother, John Macari, former lieutenant of the NYPD. Welcome, John.
Oh, thanks for having me, brother. Pleasure to be here as always. I'm glad the show's doing well. You deserve it, and thank you for having me. What do you got for me today?
There's a lot going on. We're watching this witch hunt with a former president by the upper echelons of not only the NYPD, but New York State in general. We're watching this witch hunt on a former president. What's your take, being that you, yourself, Eric Dim, and Sal Greco has been ringing the alarm on this upper echelons of New York State?
Yeah, so I think that we've been ringing the alarm on the entire political structure of New York City. Just happens to be that our former employee is the NYPD is very tied into that political structure. Again, the people that run the New York City Police Department are politically appointed, and we've been waving the flag at this progressive legislation, these progressives in city council, and saying they're actually Marxist, and there's a Marxist hold on New York City and New York State, and it's attempting to sweep the entire country at this point.
100%. And it's, it's almost like there's a gaslighting happening, right? We're watching this like gaslighting. You've been shining a light on this, and you've been doing a great job, brother, of just showing, like, even with the guy John Shell going on Dr. Phil the other day and saying, "Oh, crime's down, the mopeds, we got it under control," and then we see this unfortunate shooting of these two police officers. What's your take when you see this guy John Shell, who you worked with this guy, and see him just gaslighting New Yorkers? What's your take on that?
Again, he's tied into the political structure. So what he's doing is being a mouthpiece for the politics, right? He goes on Dr. Phil. He tells him, "Oh, we had a problem with legal immigrants coming into New York City and robbing people on mopeds, but we back in January we squashed that. We don't have that problem anymore." Then a couple of days after that interview, what happens? Two New York City police officers get shot by an illegal immigrant on a moped. What happens at that press conference? Now the chief of detective comes up, Joseph Kenny, and he says, actually, we have a very big problem of illegal immigrants on mopeds. We actually have 80 robbery patterns that have happened since January 1st to June 1st of this year. And 2 years ago, when Eric Adams was inaugurated, we've had 0 of these patterns, robbery patterns, where people were being robbed from mopeds or motorcycles. So you see, just that alone is a huge increase. And when I say pattern, I mean that multiple crimes have happened, right? And that doesn't have to be just in Queens. It could be in any borough. It could be a citywide pattern. So we have these crime patterns emerging where these illegal immigrants have rose. And what he did is he's protecting his boss, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, by saying, "No, we got everything under control," because Eric Adams supports open borders. He supports sanctuary city laws. Now, because there's so much pressure because of people like myself, Eric, and Sal raising the alarm and pointing it out, now today he comes out and says, "You know what? I think that we should revise the sanctuary city laws, and I think that we should start to deport people who commit violent felonies."
And this is why it's so important what you guys are doing, because this is an old song for you guys. This is an old song. I mean, you guys have been literally trying to wake everybody up. The rank and file are kind of at the mercy of these megalomaniacs. It's very concerning as a New Yorker. It's very concerning. What do you feel like after seeing these two police officers shot? What type of action, brother? I asked you to come on because you were a lieutenant in the NYPD. If you were in the chair, if you were at the helm, what would you be doing to reversing what's happening in New York at this moment?
Listen, it's the same old song and dance. I don't care if you put a Democrat or a Republican in front of me or any other politician for that matter. Any tragedy that happens, they use it to further an agenda, right? And normally with that agenda, what they do to show that they're doing something is to create new law. Right. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying we absolutely have way too many laws on the books. And the last thing that we need to do is create new law. What we should be doing is using the laws that we have on the books. We have immigration laws on our books, right? We have assault laws on our books. We have we have rules concerning when you can carry a firearm in society. Use those laws appropriately. I don't need your safety, your guise of safety for you to now take away my liberty, where now just for example, we're having a big issue in the trains. Oh, we're going to wand everybody that comes in the train. Everybody that comes in the train, now you can no longer go in there without getting searched by a machine. What did I do that I need to give up my rights for? Why does a lady who's going to work, or you or anybody else, we're not committing any crimes. Go after the people that are committing crimes using the laws that are on the books currently.
Just to at least dial it back, right? Just right now, that's not happening, and it's twofold, because we're seeing, even when there's actual violent attacks and the police do get involved, they're just basically escorting them to the jail, whatever county they're in, and then they're being let out. So, at what point, who holds this DA accountable? Who in your eyes, like, how do we hold the people that are not doing their jobs accountable? What's your take on that?
I mean, ultimately, the governor of the state of New York holds the DA accountable, and she should be able to, not that she should be able to, she is able to remove the district attorney from office. It happened in Florida. Ron DeSantis removed the woke attorney who refused to prosecute out of office. It's the same structure. So you have a failure on many levels. I hone in more on the local politics, and I go after New York City Mayor Eric Adams and the upper echelon of the police department a lot. Now, could they remove the district attorney from office? Absolutely not. They cannot do that. But what they can do is get up in the morning and let New Yorkers know exactly what's happening in New York City, and why there's a revolving door in New York City, not just because of the legislation, not just because of the legislation that even affects the district attorney's office, but because of the DA's ideology. His political ideology is more of a social worker. And I'm not just picking on Bragg here. I'm talking all 5 borough DAs. And, a lot of people in Staten Island would beat me up and say that the Staten Island guy's great. And I'm here to say he's absolutely not. He's just as bad as Alvin Bragg is, if not worse, because he doesn't tell you what he's going to do. He just continues to do it. So these DAs are more of social workers than prosecutors at this point. And they're failing to do their job. So New York City Mayor Eric Adams and the upper echelon of the PD continue to say, these are our partners. These are our partners. They're doing a great job, lying to the public.
Well, what is the name of the DA in Staten
Island? Mike McMahon.
And why do the Staten Islanders believe he's good? What's the story with him?
I don't know why they believe he's good. I don't even know.
Is he a Republican? Is there a Republican or something?
No, he's a Democrat. He's more moderate in his speech. But if you watched him at the last city council hearing, he continued to say that we need to fund programs. Programs work over prosecution. And I have no problem with that if you could show me a program that works. The problem is, to me, when I hear that, I hear a lot of buzzwords. I'm like, okay, what proven evidence do you have that these program works? Show me some examples of how these organizations work. And what they're talking about is they're talking about funding not-for-profits, non-government organizations to take care of a problem that we're paying them to do. We're paying the New York City Police Department. We're paying the criminal justice system employees to take care of it, in essence. And listen, I'm all for reform. I'm all for if we could reform anyone. I don't believe that, people are lost causes, but some people are. Some people don't deserve to even walk and breathe this earth, breathe the same air that we're breathing. Never 100%. Mind even be in a cell, and that's just the reality. And when we're going to say that everybody could be reformed, that's a lie.
When we do another episode, and I'm looking forward to it, because we'll dissect a lot of these things about the reform and stuff. But you're 100% right, and there are people that look at crime as either a business, or don't have that mental capacity to feel for others, empathy, or to do stuff to others or take from others. So we live among these people, and it's important that we have maybe non-violent crimes you could put into that programming. But when it's violent, it should be handled with prison. I definitely agree with that, brother. I do want to switch gears, man. Police immunity. I've seen you've been speaking about police immunity, and because of the line of work that we do at the De Jour and stuff, I would really like to pick your brain on this, because I'm trying. Well, one, I want to better understand your position, and then would like to build with you on that. So recently, you've shared with me, Eric has shared with me, that basically the institution itself would leave the police officer as kind of just out for dry, and then they would take all the blame. And you're trying to protect the rank and file by police immunity. Am I correct on that?
100%.
Okay.
That's correct.
So what is the medium, right? Because I'm coming from it from a different perspective, where like we want to start holding people accountable, anybody that takes an oath of office, right? So I'm just generally. So where is the medium on that? Because we like just like we shouldn't have for the teachers, we shouldn't have those protections where teachers can just do what they want and be protected by what do you have, babe? Tenure. How do we have it where we can hold people accountable for their actions? Where's the medium there, brother?
Okay, so qualified immunity, right? It's basically employee protection. It's protection for you doing your job, right? That's qualified immunity. And there's this notion that if you're a police officer and you break the law or you act inappropriately, that the taxpayer is going to cover you. It's absolutely a lie. It's been told throughout the public. If you do not follow your training, if you are found to not follow your training or not being the law, qualified immunity does not apply to you. When I'm talking about qualified immunity, I'm talking about an officer gets a 911 call, victim's choking. He tries to stop the person from choking. He breaks the individual's ribs, giving him the Heimlich maneuver. Person sues. So officer saves his life, or maybe he doesn't. And the officer sued doing his job, doing what he was paid and trained to do. Obviously, we sent him there to train, right? We trained him to do that. He responded to a 911 call. He acted appropriately. And maybe he didn't even injure the person. Maybe he didn't even break the person's ribs, but the person's like, you know what? I wanted to choke. And he stopped me. Because you could sue a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
But so we're protecting good cops from doing their jobs with qualified immunity. But what this political spin has been put on it is to demonize qualified immunity and paint it for something that it's absolutely not. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that qualified immunity gets used inappropriately. And I'm going to give you an example. New York City Mayor Eric Adams was a police officer in 1990, whatever. He supported this law to now give victims the ability to sue their offenders or people who they say sexually assaulted them. This was a law that was put in place that basically removed the statute of limitation for time period for sexual assault. This was done solely to go after Donald Trump, which they did with E.G. Carroll, right? So they went after Donald Trump with this. Now it comes back to bite New York City mayor in the butt. And this lady that he worked with in the 90s says that off duty, when he wasn't a cop, so qualified immunity doesn't apply to him, but when he was off duty, he sexually assaulted her.
Right.
And now, guess what New York City's doing? They are giving New York City Mayor Eric Adams qualified immunity. Absolutely has nothing to do with his job. It has sexual assault. And now, is there a time that a police officer could be indemnified for a sexual assault? Yes. I'll give you one example of that. I'm arresting you. We get into a fight and the female says, "Oh, John grabbed my breast." I absolutely did not. We watched the video. You see that there's a fight ensue. My arm brushed up against her breast. I sexually assault her? Absolutely not. Qualified immunity would come into play. But this is with a coworker. So if a coworker accused me of John grabbed my breast at work, New York City is not on the hook for representing me legally and then paying out whatever settlement it is. But for New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he's actually using qualified immunity completely inappropriately. But when it comes down to the rank and file, you will not see that unless they are politically appointed. The New York City has been not indemnifying cops for things that they should be indemnified for.
So who's the one that chooses what? Okay, this situation does, and this currently is there across the board, or is it selective at this point?
It's completely selective. It's up to New York City Corporation Council on who they will indemnify.
Of course.
Who appoints the head of New York City Corporation Council? Eric Adams. So my good friend Sal Greco wanted the reasoning why Eric Adams would be indemnified for the sexual assault. So he requested the letter. It's public information, right? These are public funds going to New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He requested the letter. They said there is no letter. Right. So the head of Corporation Council, I'm going to mangle her name, so I'm not going to say it at this point. But she says now she starts to push back on Eric Adams and says, you know what? We really can't indemnify you because if we indemnify you, it's a crime. It's official misconduct because there's no reasoning that we should be indemnifying you. Here's the statute of why you should be indemnified. Your incident doesn't fall into that, right? And that's what they do with cops. So what does he do? He removes her from office. We have a new head of New York City's Corporation Council.
Right. So it's crazy, and they've been really just throwing the rank and file under the bus. I can see the issue. It's really the upper echelons. Just the rank and file is dispensable, and they just get rid of them. You're just a number. We'll just replace you. So I get it. I get it. Yeah, man. These are the nuances, as we move forward, now that people are aware of how systems work, that I hope that we cure at some point, because you shouldn't, if you are law enforcement, in my opinion, if you are law enforcement, you should be able to do your job that you were assigned to do. At the same time, with that limited power, there is discretion, and in that space is where the bulk of the problems are. And if the upper echelon doesn't want to deal with your discretion, they'll just say that you were a bad cop and get rid of you, and then it'll be on you. And the selective, definitely. I mean, you can really see New York is a perfect example, brother, of this, like the authority that we at the du jour at least try to point out. It's like this is not a public servant system. This is totally under the control, and New York really shows that. We gotta dial that back. Just to end on Trump, brother. You feel Trump is the best candidate out of RFK, Trump, and Biden?
Absolutely. I think RFK is actually further left than Joe Biden. I've been on RFK's network a bunch, Children's Health Defense. I support his stance on a lot of issues. I think when it comes to climate, when you look at his climate agenda, I think he's a far left radical. He's talking about that gas should be $12. And then when I look at his stance on law enforcement and public safety, I feel it's completely pandering to the Black community. It's spreading this far left message. He's saying he wants to end qualified immunity for police officers, what we just spoke about. To me, that's the death of policing. That's abolished the police. And now that will create more crime and more death in Black and brown communities, particularly because as it stands right now, those are the communities that are most impacted by crime.
Yeah. No, I definitely see a couple of things that concern me with RFK, brother. You 100% right, and there are stances that I do like, and we're just trying to, no matter who, like you said, no matter who's in, we will hold them accountable. Why do you like Trump? You just said why you don't like RFK, but what are some selling points for you with Trump?
Yeah, I love Donald Trump, and I'm not someone, I don't worship any man. As much as I like Trump now, and I'll tell you why. It's as crazy as it is that he's a billionaire. I mean, I think the common people could relate to him. I mean, he's been completely under attack. He's the only president in our history whose income and money has actually went down and not went up. I mean, the Obamas and the Clintons, they came into office they were worth nothing. They were worth absolutely nothing. And they walked out of office being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. When the opposite's true of Donald Trump. He came into office worth billions of dollars, and he lost billions of dollars. So, I mean, right then and there, you could tell me anything you want, but I need to see it. And what I see is somebody that's putting it all on the line, right? And he is, because he did not need to do this. I don't think he's an egomaniac, as people say. I know people who do security for him, who've done security for him, not even now, but in the 80s and earlier than that. And I don't believe the man is who they point him out to be. And if you really look back in the history, Donald Trump's a Democrat. Donald Trump's a New York guy. He was loved by everybody until the day he said he was going to run for president. So did he make mistakes in his first term? Yeah, absolutely. We're all not perfect. Put me in there, put you in there. There's mistakes going to be made.
I'll let you down, bro. I'll let you down for sure. Right? Man will let you down. No, I agree. What's I'm trying to think of something that some pushback here, but what's your take on his stance with the shot, being that he backs the shot and believes the shot is good? What's your take on that, being that you fought the mandates and didn't want to put it in your body?
So listen, again, if I'm the president of the United States and you throw this virus at me and, they're painting me out to be a killer, because at the time they were, right? Because he wasn't mandating anything. Am I going to work to see that we could use the best brains that I have around me that are telling me in the medical field to say, hey, we could create a vaccine and that'll help this? Am I going to do anything I can to create that vaccine? Yeah, why wouldn't I? That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do, right? That's part of public safety. That's part of what you're going to do. Looking back on it, I completely hate that he handed the country over to an elf and to some other woman, and they basically shut down the world's greatest economy. I think there were mistakes made, but when I look at him as a whole, he was never for the mandates. He never supported it. He's actually stood up against a lot of vaccines that he thought was bad. And to me, people try to paint me as I'm an anti-vax person, and it couldn't be furthest from the truth. I have pharmaceutical drugs in my closet. If you go there, thankfully, I'm not on any of them every day, but I have used Z-Packs and things of that nature to save my life. But when there's something that doesn't make sense, like I have antibodies in my system, why would I need to put more in there? That's a big problem for me. And Donald Trump would not have pushed that on me, nor did he ever. And if something arises in the future, we shouldn't just blindly trust something that's rushed through. There should be time, and things should make sense, and questions should be allowed to be asked. But Donald Trump never censored me. Donald Trump never said that I was a conspiracy theory. He just backs that the shot was good. I don't agree with him at all, but that's his stance on it. And that's fine. There's plenty of things I disagree with people who I respect on.
That's fair. Do you with people dying from the shot, and we're starting to see the numbers, everything's starting to come out now. Do you hold him accountable? Who do you hold accountable for that? Who does John Macari hold accountable for that?
Again, he never forced it on anybody. So when you're going to go out and you're going to do something, I was under the same coercion as anybody else. I could have easily still been in the New York City Police Department making a lot of money right now. My pension would be huge. But I didn't fold. So at the end of the day, when you look at the people that actually forced it, was it Donald Trump? No. It was Bill de Blasio. It was Eric Adams. It went down to the minutia of who was running that state and who was running that city. And when you really look at it, it was your local politicians that forced that shot upon you, that made you take that decision. Am I going to feed my family? Am I going to continue to work in my city job? They placed these restrictions, and they painted you out to be insane for not wanting to do it. And they painted you out to be a conspiracy theorist and a murderer and a grandma killer and all these other things. I never heard any of that from Donald Trump, but I heard a lot of it from Bill de Blasio. I heard a lot of it from New York City Mayor Eric Adams and all the politicians, really, even the Republicans. I never heard it from Donald Trump. I never heard him demonize someone for their religious beliefs or their medical beliefs. I've never heard it. And Robert Kennedy, as much as I support him, listen, the guy had a party in the height of COVID where you had to show him a vax card. I mean,
yeah, his wife. Yeah, that's true.
He blamed it on his wife.
Yeah.
He blamed it on his wife. I'm sorry. Like, you're a man. Like, if my wife did that, we're not having the party.
You know why that one? And I listen. Like, I know there's going to be Trump supporters that watch this and RFK supporters, and I just want to say I don't have. I just want to hold our elected officials accountable. I don't care who's in. But out of these two men, what concerns me about it is that RFK specifically is in that line of work, right? He has the CHD, and that's why that one was a little weird. We were attending his rallies, and it's a little unfortunate to hear that he had a party, and you had to have that when you were blatantly fighting it, right? Your company blatantly fights this, your nonprofit blatantly fights this. So yeah, it's true, bro. With Donald Trump talking about a mass deportation, we spoke privately, and I really like what you said about this. I tried to remember to ask you this. How do you see that playing out? We're talking 11 million people, 11 million. Who knows what the numbers are? I don't even know how they come up with that number, but 11 million people here. Me personally, I don't see that happening in mass like that without it literally getting kinetic. So, what are some solutions from your point of view to doing this in a humane way?
First off, everybody that's in this country should be identified, right? And then at that point, we need to make a decision on who these people are, right? If you're on a terrorist watch list, bye. If you're implicated in crimes, bye. If you're committing crimes, bye. If you're a family here and you came here to work, I have absolutely no issue with you being here. I don't think anybody does, but you still need to go through a process. You still need to go through a process like every other immigrant. There's people waiting to come in this country now. I have friends that are first generation. They just came here right now, and they're waiting to get the other half of their family because they're waiting to do it legally, and they can't. And it's costing them a lot of money and a lot of time, and they're missing time with their family when they could just cross the southern border and walk over and be given a million different things. So I think we need to establish a rule of law. We need to secure the borders, and absolutely, there are people that need to be deported in this country. Should we round everybody up like they're cattle and deport them? Absolutely not. I have a big problem though with military-aged males that came here by themselves without a family. I don't think we need those problems. I don't think we need to sit there and investigate. Oh, were you released from jail in Venezuela? Are you a gang member? I don't think we should even spend our resources. Should be like, hey, listen, you got 90 days. You're out of here. That's it. You're a family. You're trying to work. We'll give you that process.
Gotcha. Yeah. And with all the stuff that our government is doing currently, right? Like that you're a sane man trying to come up with sane solutions. If John Macari was president, I'm all with you, right? But with everything happening with our government, I mean, our administration invited these people in, right? And do we really trust our government to, like you said, the words ID, right? You said the words ID, and I get a little concerned because, I mean, why would you do this in the first place? You see what I'm saying? Like we pay taxes to a government to do the right thing, the best interest of we the people. This was a direct, not best interest of we the people. Who do we hold to do this ID program? The people that did this to us? You see what I'm saying? Like how does this work, John?
Listen, it's top down, right? So you put a common sense guy in there, there'll be common sense legislation, there'll be common sense enforcement of rules. When you put a totalitarian in there, there's going to be totalitarian rules and there's going to be totalitarian enforcement. Unfortunately, that's what we've seen. Our laws should protect us from that. The checks and balances should protect us from that, but since 2020 it hasn't, right? So that needs to be restored, right? So that it doesn't matter if John Macari's in there or Joe Biden's in there, that there is a basis of reality, and this is as far as you can go. Yes, you're the president, but this is as far as you can go. You cannot destroy the sovereignty of our nation, and that's we have to. Are we the people the solution? Absolutely, but there needs to be government resources utilized in order to do this, because what are we doing? We're working, we're raising our family, we're doing a million different things. We're not the people in charge of doing it, and if you need us to be, step aside and we'll do it for you. Give up your salary. Somebody else will come in and do it. Somebody else will take your nice, comfortable job and we'll figure it all out. That's what it is. These are common sense solutions. They're not hard solutions. And again, these people, they came in here, they were welcomed in here, but they're not American citizens and they're not privy to the same rights as Americans. I'm sorry, if I cross the border right now into Mexico, I'm going to be arrested. I mean, I don't know how people get confused.
100%. Or
Canada, I'm getting arrested.
Yeah.
I just want to come here to work. Nobody cares.
Yo, my son dates a woman in Alberta, and he's like, I'm like, bro, just break in, thinking like with the mind state of America. He's like, no, it's a little different with Canada. So you're 100% right. If tomorrow, John, day one, you were the head of the NYPD, you were the commissioner of the NYPD. What are you doing day one, sir?
Right now on the Eric Adams?
Day one.
All right, I'm probably only going to last about a day. But I'm going to immediately get up on stage and say there's absolutely no way that we could go forward. There's no way we could fight this incoming tide unless New York City Mayor Eric Adams declares New York City for a state of emergency right at this moment in time and allows us to cooperate with ICE to remove people that are here for nefarious reasons, people we already have identified, which they know. They need to be removed first. Then we'll start to deal with the people that are here that are American citizens that have nefarious goals and whatever, however else you want to say it. Then we'll start to go back to policing the people that are here.
Copy. All right. So the first thing is there's somebody above you that could derail you and would cut you short from your powers, right? It would be, so we still have a problem with Eric Adams. what do we do? All right, so right there, we identify the problem. What do we do with a guy like Eric Adams in this time? Like we're just under the control of this. What is to be done? If you had to give any advice, what should be done at this point? Is there treason in John Macari's eyes? Is there treason happening today in New York State?
We are funding people who came here who are unidentified. We're funding people who are committing crimes. We're funding people who we know to be terrorists. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is taking tax money, your hard-earned tax money, and he's giving it to people that came here to commit crime and hurt you. Is he treasonous? 1,000%. Is he breaking laws?
1,000%.
1,000%. Who said that we have to put? I forget the number I put out. I forget the number of it was. Let's just say there was 168 hotels in New York City. I believe there's 38 of them. No, I'm sorry, 64 of them are being used to house illegal aliens. This is all your money, right? And who's profiting from this? The hotel owners are profiting big. Whose campaigns are they donating to? They're donating to these leftist politicians in New York City. Until today, the official position of New York City is the border should remain open. So if that's your official position, you're actually going against federal immigration law. You're hiding behind this sanctuary city law, saying, "Oh, I can't violate that law," but it's perfectly fine to violate federal immigration law and then take our money and take vital resources away: ambulances, fire trucks, police, teachers. Things that we need to build roads, whatever it may be, fix our tunnels, our bridges. You're taking that money from we the people and you're giving it to people who are here for nefarious reasons. You're absolutely treasonous.
On that note, John Macari, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate your point of view. We appreciate your experience and everything you've done for this city. Thanks for coming on, John.
Thank you, brother. Pleasure.